So too many people are trying to do stuff across the equal sign. We don't do anything with that yet. We look at each side separately, and we do as much as we can on one side. Then when we can't do any more, we go to the other side, and we do as much as we can on that side. Then we worry about moving stuff back and forth. So our first step, we're going to just look at the left side, and we're going to see, do we have step number one? Do we need to do the distributive property? Do we? Yeah, we got parentheses, right? That's your first clue. And we've got parentheses. So let's do the distributive property. I take the -2. I'm going to write a little small. Hopefully you can see it so I can fit everything in the space that I have. And I multiply that by the first term that's in parentheses.
Is it -6x?
I'll get there in a second. Now here's where a lot of people are messing up. They're getting confused with these negative signs. And I get this question. Is that subtraction or is that a negative one? Well, it can be both. It depends on how you think of it. Here's the way you do this, though. Just use your calculator and type in -2 times -1. Whatever the sign is on your calculator, that's what you're going to wind up putting there. So we'll do that in a second. I don't do anything with this. I just bring it down, and I'm not even looking at the right side yet. So I just write this whole equation over again. I write the whole equation over again. Next step. Now, to answer that question, -2 times 3x is -6x. If you do this in the calculator, you will see this comes out to be +2. So now, unfortunately, it's all going to be on the video. I'm not going to go back and edit this. I don't have that much time.
Doesn't need to.
Now we just bring down the x. I'm going to do everything separately. We're not going to combine things until we do it. Go to the next step on the sheet, and then I just rewrite this again. Now we're done with the distributive property. We got rid of the parentheses. No more distributive property. Now we look to combine. So we're at step 2. We look to combine like terms, but again, if you'll notice, it still says on step 2, what's underlined in capital letters, Yamin? Yeah, exactly. What's in step 2, underlined and in capital letters?
Do not move the term to the other side of the equal sign.
We are still not looking at moving anything back and forth. We're going to just look at the left side and do as much as we can. Then we're going to go to the right side. So do I have like terms? Hopefully we see I have like terms. Yes, I do.
That's not,
X and X. So I can take these two terms and combine them, -6 and +1 basically is -5x. This is the same thing that we did with the -1s and the +1s. It's like having 6 negative x's. And then if we had one positive x, these two would cancel out, just like we did with ones, and you'd be left with all of those. So you'd be left with 5 negative x's. It works the same exact way. I know, but I'm just going to move through it. Oh, I don't know why I just erased that. So there. So we have -5x. We didn't do anything with the 2, so we just write +2. Now we come over here. I am going to go ahead. I'm going to keep working on this side. We'll come to the right side in a minute. So now that I'm here, what's the next step? Is there anything else I can do on this side?
no.
Why? Why not? Why can't I do anything? What's the rule? Middle poster. What's the rule?
Combine like terms.
Combine like terms.
Well, but do we have any like terms?
No.
That's what they.
We cannot combine a term with a variable and a term without the same variable. They're not, you can't do anything with that. We're done. That's it. Now we come and look at the right side. Do we have any distributive property?
No.
No, no parentheses. Do we have any like terms?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. X's. This is like 2 negative x's,
It's the big deal.
1 positive x.
So you're gonna have
These cancel out. I'm left with
-1.
1 negative x. I'm just going to write it as -x, not -1x, but technically -1x would be fine.
RP anti.
And then we write the +4. Now, do I have anything else I can do on this side? Any more like terms? No numbers? So I'm done. Now, if I would have had more numbers somehow, I could combine the numbers, but I don't. Remember, numbers are like terms. That's why the red, the 9 and the 4 are in red, because they're like terms. All right, so now step 3 is when I finally start to think about moving things left and right. I need to do, well, what does it say in step 3?
Move all the terms.
Des, read it, please. Step 3.
Step 3. Move all of the terms with your variable to one side of the equal sign. Normally addition or subtraction start with the smallest.
Okay, so we have variables on both sides. We need to get all the variables, thank you, by the way. We need to get all the variables to one side.
It's a big deal.
The way we're going to move these is we're going to look at the coefficient that has the least value, or that's the lowest value coefficient. -5 is a lower value than -1, so we're going to move this one. So we're going to say, all right, and I need to get rid of this whole term, not just the 5. A lot of people are just putting +5. That doesn't move the whole term over there. We want to move all of the x's. We want to move all 5 x's to this side. So we need to say plus 5x. Yes, please, please. I'm really trying to push through it, but I'm not,
I got you.
not feeling it.
I'm sorry.
Still have +2. Now I have 4x, because this is like 5x subtract an x. And then +4 still, I didn't do anything with a 4, equals is still there. Are all my variables now on one side? Yes, they normally will be after this step. Normally they'll all be on the same side. You shouldn't have to do this step twice if you've combined everything already. Now what's the next step say? I think we're on step number 4. Who can I call on? Let's call on Savannah.
Just create a code.
What's step 4? It actually got cut off, so you may have to figure it out a little bit, but it's not hard to figure out. Yep, so read step 4 and you'll see what I mean.
Next, focus on the side of the equal sign that has the variable you are solving.
So read that again loud. Focus where?
On the side of the equal sign that has the variable you are solving for.
This is where my variable is. I need to focus on this side. I don't worry about this side. Stuff will just happen to that side. I need to focus on this side where my variable is. And what's it say I need to do?
Focus on it.
And then do what? Then what's next after that?
Move the term without your variable.
Which term doesn't have my variable?
Constant. 4.
4, right? My variable's there. I need to focus on the term that doesn't have my variable. It's called a constant because it's just a number. Sometimes it could have a different variable like y, and this one is just a constant. And most of the time it will be in this class just a constant. I need to now get this, because again, we want to get x all by itself. Variables are loners. They don't like being with any number. They want to be all by themselves. So we need to get x all by itself, which means we need to first, and it even says on there your first step, step number 4, it says this will normally be addition or subtraction. So we need to do the opposite. Oh, this is not on your sheet. You may want to add this in. You may want to note that you need to do the opposite. These signs should always be opposite of each other. They should never be the same sign. So we do the opposite so we can get rid of that. So those cancel out and go to 0. Again, if this was a seesaw and we took some people off of this side, we got to take those people off of this side to stay in balance. So if you're removing people, you got to remove them from both sides. I get -2 there. My 4x just comes down. That's all. Oh, this is going to come out even. I'm just lucky. So now we're done with step 4 and we're on to step 5. What's step 5 say? Shane, real quick.
Move the coefficients to the other side of the equal sign, normally division slash multiplication.
If you read a word that you don't understand in these, it's up here somewhere. Coefficient is the number in front of the variable. So we need to get rid of this number. That's a coefficient.
So,
We need to do the opposite math. Let me just finish it real quick and then we'll go over. If I'm doing 4 times x, 4 multiplied by x, I need to do the opposite math, which it even says on the sheet it's normally division. So it kind of even just tells you, and 99% of the time that's going to be correct in the problems that we do. So I do division over there also. If I do it on one side of the seesaw, I got to do it on the other side of the seesaw. And this is the middle of the seesaw right here. All these equal signs is the middle. So one side, and I do it on the other side. That gives me just x, and that gives me -2. The one thing I want you to add at the bottom of this, what would be true if this was an inequality? What do we have to watch out for? Feels like greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, all those. What do we have to be careful about in inequalities? Rihanna, what is it? On the bottom of this sheet, in this space, just write this. If you divide by a negative coefficient is up there if you don't know how to spell it. If you divide by a negative coefficient, you need to flip you can call it sign or symbol or whatever. We can't flip an equal sign, right? Because even if we flip it, it still looks like an equal sign. So it still works for that, which is why I'm not telling you to be specific to an inequality. Technically, it only happens in inequalities, but that phrase will work for everything, and it'll make your notes shorter. So if this would have been greater than or equal to, I need to flip it, but I didn't divide by a negative anyway, so I wouldn't have flipped it in this one anyway.
Don't do that.
But just remember that little one situation. If you divide by a negative, you need to flip the inequality sign. All right, so that is using this sheet all the way through.